Welcome to ADHD Founders, a podcast where we talk about having ADHD and also running a business. This week, we talk about the difference between startups and small businesses and everything in between. And we also talk a little bit at the start about focus and how to direct focus and how ADHD is a really bad name because it's not really a deficit in attention. It's really just about how you can control directing that attention.
Yeah, and if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/ADHD_founders. Become a patron and help us pay for editing and keep this fun conversation going. Enjoy the episode.
I was in the zone. I was in the zone last night, and I think I went more than hyper-focus. It was good and bad. My brain was like a light, and I kind of felt like I could solve world hunger or something crazy. It was, if someone took a picture of my brain at that point, I think it would have just been like, I've only had this once or twice, but it was like bad in a way. It was kind of past that point that it was good. I felt a bit crazy.
Like kind of almost like manic about an idea or your abilities to do something. Yeah.
And then this morning, I'm just like completely hopeless. I can't do anything. I think I wore it out.
I feel like for me, a lot of times when like the hyperfocus kicks in, it can be good sometimes because like you can get a lot done if you're focused in the right direction, but redirecting that focus is like impossible. It's like I'm hyper-focused on whatever the thing is, and it may be the right thing or maybe the wrong thing. And kind of the extreme part of what you're talking about is it's almost like a compulsion where it feels like I can't stop this hyper focus. And so I hope it's focused on something worthwhile because I feel stuck and kind of trapped in what it is.
Yeah. I just had this mental image go through my head. Like, did you guys ever watch X-Men?
Yeah.
It's a bit older now.
Cartoon?
The
cartoon?
The comics, the movies, everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know Cyclops?
Yes.
You remember when like Professor X finds Cyclops? So basically he's the one with the eye. He's got lasers he's got power coming out of his eyes, like energy, and he can't direct it. And so like if he opens his eyes, like everything in front of him just gets destroyed. It's just out of control. And then Professor X helped him direct it, just like attention. And then he's got like the eye piece. So with the eye piece, like
he's got the goggles,
the visor or whatever it is, like he can actually like direct his power. But if he takes that off, it's like he doesn't want to open his eyes because it just goes everywhere. I just had that image when you were talking, Jesse. I was like, can't direct the attention. It's just like woo, everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good visual. And then like you can keep going. Like, and if you like sometimes the right tools or helpful medications and getting enough sleep can be your goggles. I mean, and you'd even plan that.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up that as a metaphor because that is literally a metaphor I almost used in my book because I had that same thought of like well, because of that, when I talk about the name ADHD, which is like a terrible name because it's not really attention deficit. It's more that our attention is focused on all the things kind of at the same time, which becomes overwhelming, which is really similar to the Cyclops, the eye, like power going everywhere at once and you can't focus it on one thing. That's very much how it feels like our attention is. And yeah, like you said, hyperfocus often is kind of related with that. And so I think it's a really relevant metaphor for sure for people that know that those old cartoons or comics or movies.
Yeah, I mean, X-Men's prominent enough. I think it works. I had the kind of opposite. I feel like the hyperfixation is a thing sometimes and I could feel myself. Was this yesterday? Yeah. Feels like forever ago. I could feel myself on the brink of ADHD paralysis. Like I was because we launched a new feature. We had to delay the launch for various reasons. And so I made like the content was all set. I had it like it was kind of just built up in my head. And then I put some posts out, and organic social is how we get a lot of our customers. And the posts just did not, like they just didn't get views, which happens.
Right.
Obviously. I mean, I don't know if that's RSD or just me being sensitive or whatever, but I was like, obviously that I know rationally that's not it for this feature. Like that we have other ways to communicate with people. We have a large email list. We sent an email, obviously, all that stuff. But I was like, everyone hates it. This sucks. It's a failure. What's next? And all I wanted to do was go to my bed. And I was cold and I just wanted to go to my bed. I was going to bring my computer, but I was just wanting to get into my covers and I don't know, like seeking comfort. And I was like really proud of myself because I was like, okay, I won't get work done. Like if I think this is a problem for my business, I should work. And so I was really proud of myself because there's plenty of times that I actually did that and have done that. And I will in the future, I imagine. But I got a Diet Coke, which I normally don't have like in stock, but I had them and I cracked one open. And then I was drinking at my desk and I have a treadmill that I stand on, but often don't turn on. And so I turned it on and then I opened up some stuff and I just got working. I had a really productive 2 hours, like super focused on something that had nothing to do with this product launch, just other work stuff. And anyway, I felt like proud of recovering it. But I think that was the first time I had this like sentient, I'll be in bed for 3 hours if I don't like catch myself right now. It's rare to actually catch yourself, I feel like, for that.
Yeah, that self-awareness is super hard.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of self-pattern recognition can be really, really important because I think, just in general, people, you have these tendencies and I feel like I don't know if this is ADHD specific or not, but it feels true to me. So I'm going to say it, where it feels like it's more difficult for us to recognize those things that, oh, we're in this bad pattern and we're doing this thing over and over again. And whenever we do that, like you're saying, like whenever grab the laptop and move into bed to work on the thing, like nothing gets done that day. Nothing actually it gets solved. And so kind of recognizing that and trying to pull yourself out of it, especially when it's not fun and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, good job. Like, that's great to recognize that and just realize like, this isn't going to serve me, even though it feels like what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's actually not going to serve me right now. And I need to break that pattern and try something else.
Totally. Yeah. And it's not like it's fixed forever, but that time it was. Because I think that my brain I don't pattern recognize. I think you're right. And I also don't like workshop on the go. Like I'm not like walking through, well, if I did this and it'd be like this, and if I did this, my body will just move there. Like I'm not usually running through the scenarios.
Yeah, it's more the impulse. You're impulsively kind of leaning towards what feels right. And in that moment, it wasn't going to serve you.
Right. And if someone had stopped me in the hall and be like, where are you going? I'd be like, no, shut up. I wouldn't have thought, I didn't ask myself that question really. I just kind of felt myself moving there. Yeah. And I was like,
I feel like sometimes I know, but I just can't break out of it anyway. Especially with dopamine seeking. Like if I'm doom scrolling or, sucked into like some rabbit hole, like, 20 tabs deep or something. Like I know I'm doing it, but I can't help it because something about it feels good to some part of my brain.
Yes.
It's dopamine seeking, I think. And I know it's happening, but I can't stop.
But doesn't it feel like it's like, so I think it still qualifies that impulse because it's like, I'm not weighing options. I'm not like, well, if I went here, I could do this, or I could go on a walk and get that. Like, I'm not running through that. I'm just like moving toward the thing that I want. And I'm totally with you. Like I am sometimes doom scrolling and I'm like fully aware that I'm doing that, but I'm not going to stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like it's a bit like a drug. It's like, some part of your brain seeking something and will do anything to get it.
This sort of reminds me, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I'm curious if either of you have personal rules that are kind of arbitrary rules that you set for yourself. And so the reason I'm thinking of this is that the impulse thing, it reminded me of something I do for myself with TikTok, where sometimes I get on TikTok and I'm kind of just lost and wasting time scrolling, flipping through videos or whatever it is. And what I've done is I set a rule for myself where if I'm ever using TikTok and I accidentally swipe over to the shop, which is just one swipe over to the left, if I ever accidentally do that, I have to force quit the app and leave it for a while.
Yeah.
Like I have to walk away basically. Like that's sort of the signal to me of like, no, you've been on TikTok too much. You did the accidental swipe. You got to get out of here. So that's like one of those weird arbitrary rules that I've just sort of like set for myself. I'm curious, do either of you have rules like that?
I have one that's a screen time one. I really try not to do my doom scrolling in bed. Like I sometimes do it in the morning, but at night, I'm such an insomniac. Like I fear insomnia. So sometimes I'll be perched on the stairs, like up to my bedroom doom scrolling because I know that I have to turn off the thing once I get in there. And I think the compromise I've made with my brain is switching to like nostalgia content. So Friends, Parks and Rec, The Office, something that isn't addictive, right? I already know how it ends. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I'm still like get to listen and I don't have to even look at the screen. So it's less screen time than it is an audio situation. And so
Right.
I that's kind of like helped my transition to screen free. And I'm pretty good about like that. I'm gesturing right now. My body's like stopping me from moving toward my bed with my phone in my hand.
Nice. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't think I have any rules. I probably will think of some after the podcast though. But I was just thinking with your rule, Jesse, like the cool thing about it is that it's a random kind of rule. Like you don't know when it's going to happen, right? You accidentally
Right.
swiped
Yeah.
over to the shop, and that slight sort of randomness about it, I feel like makes it a better rule.
Yeah, because if it was just like a 20-minute limit or something like that,
You'd
like
be
I
like,
would
"Oh, I'll
be
keep going."
annoyed and I would skip
And
it
you just dismiss
and
it.
work around
Get
it.
right back to it. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, there's something about the
novelty.
Yeah, it's almost like there's the novelty of it of like, oh, I did the thing.
Well,
when I
it's
swiped
like,
over
like
the
a video
store,
game,
and
like I fell off the cliff, and so I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a cool feature on Android. I don't think this is on iOS, but like, you know how you've got different focus modes for your phone? So that is on iOS. You can create different focus like profiles and stuff. But the cool thing on Android is like, if you have a focus mode on and maybe that focus mode blocks like social media apps, because you can choose which apps come through, what happens on the Android phone is like it actually grays out those apps. So they go grayscale, just the icon itself. And if you try and click it, there'll be a little pop-up and it'll say like, do you want to like unblock this app for 5 minutes? So it automatically sets the time limit. And so you can unblock it, you go in for 5 minutes, and then it'll basically kick you out after that. I just like that it presets like the time limit. And so it's very intentional because you click it, it goes, do you want to unblock it? And you got to go,
do you go into that
yes,
mode,
and then
Marie?
it's set it.
Do you enable
Well, do you know what? I forgot about it until I just mentioned it then. So like, I think I'll do it after.
I know I have a couple screen blocker things, and then I'll turn them off, and because for some situation, like I need to post a thing for work or I don't know, and then they just don't go back on because I don't want to.
I feel like what I need is, it's sort of one of those things where I feel like it's hard for me to embrace a rule when the rule is just like, no. Whereas what I think might be helpful is if I was able to like set up some sort of mode like that, where I'm like, I don't want to be doom scrolling after 7 p.m. or something like that. And then if I tried to open up one of those apps, it would pop up a thing that would recommend like, do you want to open the Kindle app instead, or something that's an alternative, because maybe it's like, oh, I'm waiting around for like, maybe I'm about to watch a show, but my wife went off to the bathroom. So I'm gonna be waiting around for 5 minutes. I just want to kill time for 5 minutes before we hit play. My time would be better served reading Kindle versus like scrolling through TikTok or something like that. So I wonder if like an alternative.
I have an automation for that.
Oh, do you have an automation? Yeah. Here it is.
Well,
all right. What do we got,
Well,
Sharon?
it's actually really simple. In the Shortcuts app, made by Apple, you can set a trigger, which is opening a specific app. And so, and the annoying thing is you can't set, well, you actually could do conditional logic for the time frame. So like when I open this app, so I had it for when I opened DoorDash, it would, every time I did it, it would do something else, right? It would like send a message to Shelpful saying like, convince me, like give me an idea for something I can make at home. I ended up turning it off because it was making me feel too guilty when I was like just trying to be a mom feeding her kids.
Messages my kid.
Yeah. That is a tricky thing with it.
And I've done it with other things too, and I've helped other people set that up with social apps specifically. And I think even someone with Kindle, like when I open Kindle, and then all I have to do is just dismiss it. But you would want to, you have to add the conditional because it'd be annoying if it happened all the time. You want it just hours, yeah. Like it's Apple only could do that really because they're the only ones who know when you open an app.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to explore that. Maybe that's one of those really great ideas that in practice I would be like, nope, I hate this, and turning it off.
I'll build it for you and send it.
Yeah, I'll give it a legitimate shot.
Can I do it as a collab post?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, do it.
Deal.
We're working out content here live on our other content.
I kind of feel like it's like past you wants to help you, and then current you just goes, no, screw that.
Or current you wants to help future you, and then future you is like, what?
Future you just goes, no, what are you doing?
Past me, current me, and future me never are aligned. They all want different things.
It's a constant battle. Before we hit record, we were talking about just a full on left turn because I don't think I have a great segue. We were just talking about startups and conversations we'd had, and maybe debating and defining the difference between a startup and a small business, because there was kind of some debate offline about that, and want to maybe crack into it here on the podcast. I believe there's a very clear, defined difference. But even though the companies can look similar at different stages, there's like an easy definition that I think differentiates them.
Yeah. And I think even within small business, there's a lot of different categories of small business as well. There's kind of indie businesses as well, like, which could be, just one person trying to do something. Some small businesses aren't really that small. Like, just depends. Like, and there's predictable businesses and unpredictable. And I think that's kind of where the startup thing comes in as well. And there's also speed of growth. I think for startups, a lot of it's about speed of growth. Like, you're trying to do something that's new.
Yes.
Okay, let's define a startup.
I think you just said it. It's about growing.
Okay.
It's like startup. Well, actually, let me just not take credit for this. Paul Graham wrote an essay probably 20 years or more ago. Startup equals growth is the name of his essay. And these were called essays. This is like before blogs were a thing. So his is just like the first line is, a startup is a company designed to grow fast. And I feel like that's kind of the overarching definition, because whether that's through venture funding that allows you to grow faster than you would be able to organically with a traditional profit model, or the type of business you're building and the demand you're trying to create. And that to me explains it.
I agree with the grow fast. But would you also say it needs to be kind of a new idea, or a new take on an idea, or some sort of new execution on an existing idea, like something different, I think? Or is it just about growing fast?
I think any business could be a startup. I mean, like, there have been makeup companies that were started that I would consider startups.
True.
And I mean, and I think sometimes you can just look at, have they raised venture funding as the answer? But there are startups who didn't, and who did bootstrap, and they were able to bootstrap growth, but at a speed clip that would be maybe faster than other service businesses. But there are there's some that are easy to figure out. Like, if you have a plumbing business, we'll go ahead and call that a small business and not a startup. Right. And there's some that are easier, but you're right. I think that there's less common startups, like CPGs maybe would have been less traditionally startups, but I think they've kind of made some footholds in the last,
CPGs,
decade.
What is that?
Oh, sorry. Consumer packaged goods. So like people selling, and anything that they're mailing or direct to customer companies.
I was going to say that there's got to be something new or different about it. It could be in the business model. It could be in the distribution, like direct to consumer. It could even be in maybe the brand. There's something different about it.
I feel like there's some interesting, I don't know if bias is the right word, but like assumption with those phrases. Because like when I hear startup, if you say you have a startup business, what I'm thinking is like, okay, well, that either means like it's a SaaS, like it's a technology related company that you started, or like B or two or whatever I said the first one, like it's disruptive in some way. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm opening a coffee shop. Like, I'm doing something different, and so it's more of a startup. Versus if I'm just opening a regular coffee shop, it feels like it should be a small business.
Well, and the intention, and the intention to make it big, I think, intent matters there too. I think.
Right. Yeah, and I guess the disruption is part, like if you're just opening a normal coffee shop, there isn't really, you can't really have an intent to go big if you're just opening up a traditional coffee shop or something along those lines, because what is going to make it grow outside of differentiation of some sort?
But then it could, differentiation, or like, Starbucks was at one point.
So what about Sweetgreen? Do you remember, Sweetgreen?
Yeah, I would consider that more of a startup.
Sweetgreen, it's a salad bar retail kind of place, right? Like it's a
place you go to?
Yeah.
Yeah, you literally go there and you get salad. You
like
order
Subway,
salad. You
like
make
Subway,
your own,
but nicer, and it's salad.
You get salads.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. Just yeah.
But most people will go, well, is that a startup? There's so many articles online going, Sweetgreen is not a startup, but it's behaving like a startup. And I'm just trying to think what makes it a startup.
Well, it's heavily venture-backed. Yeah.
It's venture-backed, but it's a salad place. Like, it's venture-backed. It's got a nice feel to it. It's got good branding. It's healthy. But it's a salad place, right? But they got venture funding. They had the ambition to grow huge. They did introduce an app to place your order.
But don't they have a robot too? Like the salad making robot?
Maybe
They've
now,
got some new things too, yeah.
I don't know what they're like now, but I remember at the start, like a lot of people were saying, like, is this a startup? And the thing, I guess, that made it a startup was that it grew fast. It had like huge ambition to get big, and it got venture funding.
Which is tied, right? Like if I have ambition to grow big and I have a salad place, then I'm going and seeking venture funding. And I have to have a story I can tell them, which is we anticipate for every one we open, it's going to cost us this much to open a new one. It's going to cost us, and we anticipate making this much within X amount of time. So it has to be like investable. But it might be the difference between an investor saying yes or no. And that's what makes you a startup. You know what I mean?
And the other thing is WeWork, like as a physical, a lot of people look at WeWork and they go, that's just a retail play. But it was considered a startup because it got so much funding and it grew so fast, but it's still real estate. And now obviously it's a bit different. It's kind of, they went through a phase where they were really in trouble and stuff, like in terms of growing. But that's a real estate business. But it was still a startup because it had different ideas. It created a vibe, a different way of working.
And you already said it too. It grew fast. And they had
really fast.
and they had intention to grow fast. That was what they were
Yeah,
modeling. Get Jesse. Go. You had something you want to say?
Yeah, I was again kind of leaning into my own historical bias or whatever with these words. I do find it interesting that both of you kind of said like the venture backed being a big part of it, the VC aspect of it. And for me, I think I'm realizing as we're talking about it, like for a long time, if I hear startup, that's the opposite of where my brain goes. Like I immediately assume and kind of go to the like bootstrap, like the not funded, self-funded
baby startup
type of startup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, baby startup or like indie company, like indie developer kind of business.
Yeah,
that's where my mind goes when I hear startup. And I kind of feel like, oh, VC startup is like a different thing than like, I don't know. For me, it's like, I almost think of like an indie startup is like a quote unquote normal startup, even though that probably isn't the reality. But that's just kind of where my mind goes when I hear that.
But I think that, and this is I pulled up Paul Graham's essay, startups are different by nature in the same way a redwood seedling has a different destiny than a bean sprout. I think it's about the destiny. Like it's about maybe someone building something they think could reach millions.
Possibly, but I still don't think of like when I say like, when you say startup, I don't necessarily think that this is trying to be the next Uber. Maybe this is trying to be a quote unquote lifestyle business. Like this is looking to make, a few million a year and that is their goal. So then they can happily run this business and be happy. That still feels like a startup. Like our, friend of the show, Michelle Hansen, who has, Geocodio. I believe that's something in the world of where they're in, where they kind of created this startup. I believe they're non-funded, bootstrapped, and they built this business that's doing really well for them, but it's not like exploding to like hundreds of millions of dollars. And that isn't really like their goal. I don't think they're happy running what they have. And so, I don't know. I guess I don't necessarily know if it matters kind of splitting the atom on this nuance, but it is, I am just finding it interesting that that's where my brain goes when we talk about this.
Is it like a difference between startup with lowercase and startup uppercase, like in a way, like I think we're talking about like startup. I think what you're talking about, Jesse, is like startup as in a company is starting up. It's a startup, it's starting up. But like startup, I think in Silicon Valley sort of culture is like almost like startup capital S. It's something you are labeling a category as because it's ticking certain boxes like growing fast or intention to be big and raising money so it can hire to grow fast. Because I feel like with a lot of the smaller businesses, like indie businesses, you can't hire unless you kind of hire when you have enough profit to hire and you're growing at that rate. Like, oh, I can't hire anyone yet because I haven't made enough profit to do that. Whereas a startup's like, I haven't made any profit sometimes and I'm going to hire because I got venture funding because I need that to actually grow. It's almost like I was going to say greater risk, but maybe not, because like if you're doing a smaller business, you could still have heaps of risk, personal risk, because you quit your job or, you're funding it yourself.
I mean, that's kind of, I almost feel like a small business has more risk because you often need to, well, again, I'm going with but like when I think of small business, I think of like running a restaurant or something like that, where it's like, usually in my head, when I think of a small business, I think of a company that has much smaller margins. And so they have a lot of costs. And then like the actual profit margin is pretty slim. Like running a restaurant or running a coffee shop, it's like a lot of revenue, but a lot of money going out to pay for all the things you need versus like a SaaS, which is why I think of like
but
a
like there's
SaaS
hardware
is where it's like,
startups, you know, which have a lot of costs. So I think that's not, but I do understand the mental model. And I think maybe that then the debate goes more toward like, what's the difference between an indie startup and a small business? Because I think
my brain just
it's
thinks
easy to
indie
find,
startup.
like it's easy to draw the line. If you have venture funding, you're probably a startup. Someone gave you money thinking that you can grow your business faster if you have that money. Right? Like,
that's a
like,
clear definition. If
that's
it's venture back, it's definitely just a startup.
But I do think that, it's still, like, I guess these indie examples, like if you're building something that could scale and reach like all the people that might want it, like like this thing, like potentially could reach everyone that wants it, then to me I would still define that as a startup versus something that is limited by, like if I'm a coach and I'm running a coaching business, it's limited by how many calls I can have. But I guess there's courses and stuff.
I think you're talking about scale.
Right.
Yeah.
That money could make you scale faster. Like putting gas on it could make it grow if the conditions were right in the first place.
I think that makes a lot more sense to me than the intention, because I think it's less about the company intending to grow huge and more that they can. Like scaling is like
an option.
A definite possibility, a definite option. Whereas like opening a restaurant, like that's not going to scale. Like opening a bunch of them could scale, but that's like a completely different thing than just opening one. Like that, those are not really the same thing at all.
That's why most restaurants aren't startups. And I think that Sweetgreen and WeWork were anomalies at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like in general, restaurants, like I worked at YC, we did not have a lot of restaurants come through, but there were a couple. Like I remember when I was there was a company called MACD, MAC''D, and it was mac and cheese. And they had a model for like the profitability model and how, and it was like kind of more of like a pop-up type of thing, and that they could pop them up in a bunch of different cities. And so like we could scale if if we have like if you give us $500,000 Y Combinator, we could go, like we've tested this and we could go make at least that much back. Like that there's like, I think they have a harder pitch. It's harder. Bigger battle.
That model also makes sense with why I think of any SaaS company as a startup, because scaling is just a matter of like putting the dollars in the right place. It's like, if I had 1 million users for my, my SaaS app tomorrow, it's like, okay, well, we have to do some stuff, but everything's obvious what to do. Whereas like, if I have 1 million customers for my coffee shop tomorrow, what do you even do? Like find new, like there's no option to scale without doing a whole bunch of it's not exactly where it's really obvious in a SaaS. It's just like probably increase the amount I'm paying to these like companies that are helping me run the business or whatever.
Or hire people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like if hiring if hiring, 5 people helps you grow 10x more or whatever. But it's like you can draw a line to potential growth. I think that makes sense. The scaling thing. Whereas like, I think I've just known too many startup businesses that didn't want to scale huge, but I would still think of them as a startup because maybe they grew pretty huge, but it wasn't like they weren't trying to become like the next, IPO $1 billion company or whatever.
Yeah. Llama Life might be a good example as well, because like Llama Life started off as just me as like a really small project at the beginning. It wasn't even meant to be anything. So first of all, it was just meant to be a learning exercise. Then it became kind of like I would say an indie business, kind of like a lifestyle indie business. Like it was just me. I was bringing in a little bit of money, but not enough to really sustain me at all. And then I got a bit of venture funding, and it did switch. Like the mindset definitely switches. There's like a lot more pressure to hire and grow when you take investor money. And then that investor money has now basically at a startup venture-backed level, it kind of failed. Like it didn't grow enough and the money's run out. So now it's back to being kind of an indie business where the only money coming in is profit and the profit that it's making by itself. And so now it's back to being like I guess in your definition, Jesse, like a small indie startup. The rate of growth is definitely not like venture-backed growth. For me, it was a very different mindset switch. It's like, take the money, you gotta hire people, you gotta grow, you gotta hit 30% month on month MRR growth and like monthly recurring revenue growth. Like these are the targets that you're expected to hit, and it didn't hit that.
Important note too, that I think you're saying, money does not make you grow. Like getting investor dollars does not automatically make you grow. It gives you maybe more. It gives you a bigger playground to try to grow.
Test that.
Yeah. But most startups fail, like over 90%. I can't remember the exact stat. I wonder if I'm guessing more startups fail than small businesses
because it's less predictable. A small business is a little bit more predictable, I think.
I don't know. I'd be curious about that stat. Now I want to Google it. But I think that it's hard to like define that because I'm not hitting my growth goals and I still have investor money in the bank. I'm trying really hard, and like that's our intent. That's our intent. I know, like getting back to the intent thing that I think, and it is interesting because I think Shelpful would be run very differently if it were intended to be like a small business, self-sustaining company. Like we would be running it very differently. And so I think that's the other thing is like the decisions you make. And I had the interesting experience, very unique, results not typical. I got funding very early in our journey. And so I put money into the company. We kind of put some money into the bank account. And we're definitely bootstrapping it and hustling. But that didn't go on for as long as it would maybe typically go for a startup. Definitely. Because that's just really rare. So I think that I also have maybe like my personal experience is a little bit tainted because I switched to being desperate for growth early. And I think that in some ways, I think I would have learned some lessons faster if I didn't have that cushion of money. Because like when we were kind of upside down with paying our Shelpers, our accountability buddies, and like setting a price that people would actually pay and testing ads, we were losing money actively on our most popular service. And I wouldn't have been able to let that go on very long, but we're still testing features and kind of like keeping that going, but also trying to try other things that would save that. And you're able to kind of parallel path those things. But I think I would have shut it down I know I would have shut it down way faster. And I wish I had. Like, I wish I had changed things faster, in terms of budget.
Yeah, it's so interesting to, just curious, like how things would have gone differently if you hadn't become, VC backed so early. Like on one hand, it could have been, like you said, like, oh, well, you may have figured that stuff out faster or, pulled the trigger on certain things quicker. But you also might have died in like 4 months.
Right.
Like it could have been, it's so hard to know, like, what would have happened had the path not gone the way that it's gone.
There's no way to know. I mean,
just to live and imagine that it probably would have been better and be sad about it for no good reason.
Right. I mean, I've learned so much on this journey, and I was afforded that option with investment.
I think one thing that's important to note though as well, like one is not better than the other, I think. I think it's like anybody trying to start their own business. There is a certain, hats off to them for even taking that risk because there's always risk involved. But I think I feel like there is this debate about it because, I don't know, maybe one side thinks it's better than the other or that people have very strong views on how to start a business, whether it's called a startup or not, just how to start a business or what kind of business it is. I feel like it's like everything in life. People always try and label or categorize or fit into some kind of community, and maybe those labels are helping them fit into that community,
or
but it's
not.
It's very or not. But like it just feels like it is kind of divisive in some ways. But to me, one is not better than the other. It's really just what suits you and your business.
I also feel that way, but you bring that up, and I think that the divisiveness maybe is felt more by small business founders. I think, because I think there's this whole startup culture, and it's like this whole. And there's pop culture that
startup life is cool.
Yeah, startup life is cool, and there's so much pop culture surrounding it, and Silicon Valley, the show, which was great, like all of that stuff, and the lore, such a good show. But I think you're right. I think the person who feels not included as possibly a small business owner, which I think so many of the founder lessons, and everything we talk about on here, I think would be directly applicable to a small business owner. I mean, other than pitching investors and that whole thing, but maybe it isn't. Like we said, a small business can become a startup. with with a change in goal and ambition.
Right.
And then obviously being able to do it, which is hard.
Well, yeah, it's not just goal and ambition. It's also like, does the market actually want
demand it? Yeah,
because
exactly.
Demand it. Is there enough demand? Because you can't just create something. Like, there's got to be enough demand for it. You have to, there is a definition of a startup out there as well, which is like build something that people want and will pay for. Because if you just build something people want, but you're not charging anything for it, like how are you going to survive? So it's got to be a couple of things. It's got to be like building something people want to grow and growing fast, building something people want and will pay for.
And it's murkier now. Like I gave coaching as an example, but immediately in my head, I'm thinking of so many examples of, the technology has helped lower the barrier to coaching and advice, right? With courses, right? You can make you make a course, sell it a million times. And at what point do we consider that company a startup? Because they're growing their business really fast. The lines are all going up. Maybe they do get venture backing to support that, because then they launch their, like there's a parenting site that I follow and they're huge. They have like partnerships with Fisher Price and Target, and they're making way more than Shelpful.
I was just thinking like with the courses, right? Like something like Khan Academy. So like that's where it's basically a digital platform where you can sell courses, right?
Khan Academy is like the free one. They're like a nonprofit, I think. At least the kids one they have.
Yeah, I believe Khan Academy is free. Like they're connected with schools and stuff too. Because like my kids do Khan Academy.
But like Coursera.
Coursera is a better. Yeah, Coursera.
And Skilljar is another one. Yeah, there's a bunch.
But I was just going back to your example of like if you make a course and you sell it, like at what point do you become a startup? I think you become a startup when it grows fast and there's like a new or a different distribution model that allows it to scale to grow fast. Then it becomes a startup.
Well, I mean, related with the course sort of thing, like it makes me think of like creators, which I sort of think of creators as startups in this weird sort of, it's almost like this new type of startup where there's creators that are, whether it's a YouTube creator or someone that's doing like, maybe they're doing coaching, but then they're also doing courses or things like that. And I know like just kind of recently tying in the VC stuff, there's been YouTube channels that have VC backing now. I think Veritasium or whatever it is, that's like a really big science sort of based one. And they
Mr.
have
Beast.
like VC backing now.
I'm sure Mr. Beast,
Mr. Beast now I think does.
They have like retail products. I think that the creator, like the monetization models in social media and online have made it murky between a small business and a budding startup, because there are plenty of examples of people who started as a creator that went on to make a huge company, but there were some gear shifts in between there. Like the business had to change, right? Like, so they changed the DNA of the business to become a startup that could grow.
Yeah, and sometimes the tone as well.
Yeah, like that's some of what we had documented in the last year or so when I was sort of doing that, where I kind of became a creator and then was like sort of trying to shift, like how can I turn this into a business? Because right now I have like numbers and people like watching and paying attention, but I'm not, wasn't bringing in any money, and sort of like learning that shift and turning parts of it into a business, which I still have, I still have some of that happening. That is that interesting sort of turn of like running a business as a creator is not the same as growing an audience as a creator. They're very, very different.
And also
worlds.
like writing a book, like just making making a lot of money, I don't think makes you a startup either. Like, it is, I think, a structural change that you've made in your business and how you run it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it changes the tone of the business as well for the worst, I think. Like when something starts small and it's kind of niche. And I'm thinking specifically of like media companies, like, companies like The Verge. Do you guys read The Verge? Like it's it's like a tech website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when it first started, it started as a very small business, a couple of people, tech journalists publishing blog posts and stuff. And then it grew and then it grew and then it grew. And then they launched a podcast. Then they got bought by Vox Media. And now they've got a paywall on their website. And I just don't read it anymore. And I feel like a lot of the content has changed. I don't feel like it's as independent. Like it kind of feels like, it's more clickbaity. The headlines have changed and all that. It's riding for the algorithm.
It's the encrapification. Anything that grows eventually ends up becoming worse as a result.
And being acquired, I think, can help speed that along.
Well, yes.
Because then,
because then it changes
they just
the tone. They might want to make money as well.
Yeah, they're like, you have SEO. And, they basically just, media, the whole media industry is that maybe a complete ball of wax. Because that's, but it's a similar, it's true with, I guess, any acquiring company, because they could just be wanting the staff. They could just be they have their reasons for acquiring it. They could just want to knock out them as competition for clicks, and just make some money off of some loyalists, or I don't know. But it undoubtedly changes a company. If you think a company's going to get acquired and not change, you're probably in for a sad little surprise. I'm trying to think of any examples of companies that, Twitch stayed pretty separate from Amazon. I think Twitch kind of kept its brand as its own from Amazon, but it still did grow and probably feels different to people who use it. I don't use it, so I guess I couldn't really speak, but I haven't heard that from people.
OnePlus as a company, it started off as being a really niche Android phone. It was an enthusiast phone. What?
I think this is the one you talked about. Did you mention this one?
Did I mention this before?
Yeah, this is your go-to
I think last episode,
example,
but I love it. Yeah.
But they were so cool at the beginning. Everybody, all my nerdy tech friends wanted one, and I had one. But it's now got too mainstream, and it's
But then
the intention
it's so
of the
funny
product
that
changes.
Yeah, but it is from a customer perspective, I guess that's one thing to look at growth.
Pebble's a good one too. Pebble's an interesting one. Pebble Watch, because they started, they're a startup. They're a hardware startup. They started off being enthusiast nerd watch as well, and then did they get bought by? They got bought by Fitbit, right? Pretty sure
I can't even remember. I feel like their journey was very weird.
I thought they had
Google?
to shut down.
Am I thinking something
else? They've had a
maybe?
new life. I don't remember them getting.
No, but they got bought by somebody, but then the code got re-released back. I remember Eric, the founder, saying thank you.
Yeah, they just shut it down in
releasing
in 2016. They called it quits.
Apple Watch came out and kind of destroyed them, and then they shut it down. I believe it was Google that owned the code. I don't remember what
somebody
the loop
else
was,
owned
but
the code.
Google was who owned the code that released it for them to kind of come back, which is pretty cool.
It sold its software assets and intellectual property to Fitbit. Fitbit was bought by Google.
Google bought Fitbit. Yeah.
It's a whole line of
and then Google re-released the Pebble source code as open source, and now it's back as I guess a hardware startup, but it's not. Eric, the founder, was saying he's doing it just because he wanted to do it. It's not to make a massive company. It's because he wanted to make this round 2 of it.
Well, and I think that's important to say too. Very few successful startup founders are in it for just purely making a big company.
No, you're in it because you have some idea that you want to bring to life and change something.
The customer experience of this on the other end is probably a whole different discussion we should have too. But this, but I've met Eric. He's a startup. I have to imagine he has some growth plan, because growing is also, it's not just spreadsheets. That's also, as a startup founder, the feeling of having your product in more hands and more hands and more hands and more hands is pretty magical.
It's the best.
And and that's the drug for me. That's why I feel the reason I don't see Shelpful as a lifestyle business isn't that it couldn't be. It's that I'm not the right person to run that, because my drug of choice is the feeling of the pull, or of just getting my product in new hands, and
the ambition.
Yeah. And just and seeing lines go up tells me that people like it. As a dopamine junkie, I guess that shouldn't be surprising, right?
That's probably a good spot to wrap it, because we got scheduled run. So why don't we do plugs and picks real quick? Sharon, what's your plug?
Download Shelpful, Shelpful on iOS and Android. We just launched new automation features within our app, which allows you to have your AI buddy check in on you based on where you are, not just what time it is. So the right moment, the right nudges at the right moment.
And how about you, Marie?
So you can find Llama Life in the App Store or Google Play, or you can go to llamalife.co on the web and have a look at it there as well. What about you, Jesse?
And you can find me on social media as ADHD Jesse. And also, I just did a new release of Flux that adds a few new features, which has been fun. I've been doing a lot of little fun mini integrations. So there's a few different things on Blue Sky that there's a few different apps that support events using the app protocol. So they use sort of like a shared protocol thing for how to define an event. And I'm now reading those so that when you're scrolling through the app, if someone links to one of those like event sites, it actually shows up like a little event card. So it's got like the date and the name and some details. And it's pretty fun because it's something you couldn't do normally with like a, I don't know, like a meetup link or whatever. But because it's all on the AT protocol, it's available to grab that data and kind of show it inline, which feels pretty cool. So anyway, you can just look up Flux for Blue Sky in the App Store to check that out.
I'm going to bounce because I have to go pick up my kids. So I'm not going to do a pick this week, but I'm looking forward to listening to the podcast and hearing your guys'.
All right, so I'll lead off with the picks. I have one. It's this new show on Apple TV that I've been really enjoying. So it's called Widow's Bay. Have you heard of it?
No. I'm so behind. I have so much TV to watch.
So I had never heard of this show before. It just like premiered a few weeks ago, I think. So I didn't know about it at all. And then suddenly like Apple's promoting it everywhere. And I use Apple TV as my main like media TV browser. So I see their ads like in my face. I'm like, what is this? What is Widow's Bay? And so I look up, it has like 3 short like 1-minute trailers. And I watched all 3 of those. And the show is such an interesting blend of really, so the trailers kind of show you this like really quirky comedy of like this weird little town mixed with like true horror, like really scary stuff, like something you might see in like a movie like The Ring or something like that. And so I was kind of like, I don't know, because I sometimes like horror, but not a lot. Like I'm not really into watching a lot of horror movies like some people are. But sometimes I like it, and I was a little bit on the fence. But the humor in the trailers, like, I don't know, click something in my brain. I'm like, I got to check it out. The humor looks really interesting. And the show is surprisingly funny. Like, one of the funniest shows I'm watching right now. So it all takes place on, like, this tiny little, like, island, like, near, I don't know, like, New York area or whatever. So it's, like, off the coast, this tiny little island. And on the island, the main character is the mayor, who's just trying to be like a normal mayor, but the whole town is full of all these really weird people. And it's kind of like a haunted with all this interesting history, like all the different scary stories, like all took place in this little island, this little town. Okay. And so the mayor is like the one guy that doesn't believe any of it. But the sort of the premise of the show is he is the one person that is actually being haunted. So it's like everyone else on the island, they believe all these like crazy legends and all this stuff that's happened.
Oh, but he's
and the
actually
mayor,
experiencing.
Yeah, he's like the straight man that like, he's just like, no, everything's fine. We're just a normal town. We're trying to like get more tourism because that'll be really good for the business around here. And he's like, there's no truth to any of these legends, but he's actually being haunted and this scary stuff keeps hapting to him.
Does he know it's happening to him?
So
like,
well.
Or he's just in denial?
Oh yeah,
like,
but he's trying to deny it, because he's just like trying to, he's trying to get more people to come to the island because he knows it'll be good for the businesses of the island, trying to be a normal mayor. But all this stuff is really kind of like thwarting.
It sounds like
him.
a really interesting combination in that you said it's got this like interesting humor, but then Ring level horror. Like that's very.
It feels like it wouldn't work. It feels like that would be discordant. But something about it is just like they have the right magical combination of like it's because I was worried like either it's going to be too much horror and that's going to be like not enjoyable for me, or it was going to be too, I don't know, like cheesy monster of the week type of horror that wouldn't be very fun. But it really finds this unique balance of like being really hilarious and then kind of turning on a dime with like scary moments that are happening, and not like jump scares, but like more of that, like you're on the edge of your seat, like, oh, what's gonna happen here? This is really like, don't open the door, and like that sort of stuff. It's such a magical blend.
What's it called again?
Highly recommend Widow's Bay. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll add it to my ever-growing list of things
definitely check it out. I think there's only 5 episodes out now, so it's like halfway through the season, I think. But my wife and I are both watching it, and we're loving it. So.
Sometimes I do like to wait until a season's finished or a show's almost finished, because I don't want stuff to end like abruptly, like it gets cancelled. Like, way back, I think I want to say like not the 90s, but like maybe I'm showing my age, but the show Heroes? Like this is way back.
Don't even get
streaming.
me started on the show Heroes.
I was like very invested in Heroes.
Dude, how much time do we have? Because
and then it got canceled. I think you and I had like the same shows. And then it got canceled, right? It's like, what?
All right, I'm not going to go way into it. But the problem with Heroes, it was amazing for the first, like, I think the first season, they kind of broke into two parts.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Save the cheerleader, save the world. And right up to that moment, that I think it's like 13 episodes. Excellent. Love the show. Amazing. And then the second they got past that it was completely lost and never found its way again. And it was just kind of a disaster. And every new season they tried to bring it back, and they were like, we're trying to get back, like this season, we're back to what was the magic of season one. It's like, no, you never found it. That show was, it was a mess. That started with so much promise.
And it never finished.
So much promise.
It just never finished.
Yeah.
It just was canceled. That's it.
I will say, Apple TV, like I feel like people are sleeping on Apple TV still, because they put out some of the best quality shows and they don't cancel stuff. I'm trying to think if they've canceled anything. They don't do that. Like Netflix will do this all the time, or they'll have a new show. It'll be great. Season 1 ends on this big cliffhanger, and then they just cancel it and you have no idea how it ends. Apple TV, like there's several shows that have been going, like For All Mankind is like on its 5th or 6th season now, and the same with Slow Horses, which is another one. I think that was a pick of mine before.
You mentioned
I love that show.
And it's on my list. Yeah.
I feel like Apple TV is really doing a lot right with their show, and they don't cancel stuff out of the blue. I feel like, and I think this show's doing really well for them. I feel like I'm hearing the buzz around. So I highly recommend it.
Okay. Well, my pick's like completely different. It is an electric toothbrush. Do you have an electric toothbrush?
I don't think I do currently. I have some I've used them in the past, but
okay. So this is my first electric toothbrush, and I don't know why it took me so long, because like it's amazing. Like it's so good. It cleans so much. It's just way better, and it's kind of more fun to use as well. Anyway, so I got this electric toothbrush. It's an Oral-B. The model number's IO3, and I guess it's my pick because, well, not just because it's an electric toothbrush, but because IO3 is kind of like an old one. Like I think it goes up to IO8 now, but I picked IO3 because I feel like I did some research. I went down a rabbit hole about like midnight one night. I was like, oh, maybe I'll just buy an electric toothbrush out of the blue. And then I started looking into it, like what's the best brand? And then within that brand, like there's so many different like types of products. And I picked IO3 because after that, the price gets like exponentially more. I feel like at some point, like there's certain types of technology where I think that the gains like don't justify like the price increases. So like the new one is maybe like 4 or 5 times more expensive. And I was like, what's the difference? Like just cleaning my teeth. And like, are you going to have, I figured out part of the difference is like, there's an app with the new one. So after IO3, so IO4 and above have an app, and then it becomes a little bit like,
what?
Yeah, then it becomes a little bit like I know, and it's like it becomes a little bit more like okay, well the app, it's like it shows you like streaks or how many times like you're brushing or how long you're brushing, and then it gets even more complicated, and it's like what parts of your mouth did you miss? Like it can start to map, like you always miss like
a Roomba,
back.
like it's like doing a map of your teeth.
It's like,
my gosh!
And I was like, and then I was reading people online were saying like the cleaning difference is not really it doesn't make a big difference between version 3 and version 8, but the app's the difference. But after a few weeks, you get bored of the app, so it's really not not worth really paying for that. And I was like, so this feels like a really good buy. I got it on Amazon. It was like 50% off as well because it was an older version. I was like, great, and I really like it. And I think it's...
but now you're not going to know that one tooth that you keep missing when you're brushing.
It's like, oh man, I'm getting cavity back here. Like, why? It's because I'm forgetting to brush it, or the angle's wrong because, right-handed and like you just can't get that top left up, upper back or whatever. And I don't know, but you don't need
Does that mean
you
you
need
need
an
a
app to tell you that
subscription
one
too?
time.
Do you need like a subscription to get access to that app? You probably do,
I
which
don't
is
know, but
hilarious.
maybe that would
Paying
be
monthly
hilarious if you had
for
to.
your
Yeah.
toothbrush SaaS
It's
account.
crazy. I don't know. Anyway.
All right. Well, I got a text message from Sharon who had to jump early. So she actually has her pick. So I'm going to share it for her.
Okay.
And it is the Paul Graham essays. And so she talked about one a couple times in this episode, which is that one is called Startup Equals Growth. Yeah. And you can see, so Paul Graham, if you don't know, he's been, long history in the startup YC world, but he has a ton.
YC. He founded YC.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He founded YC. And he just has a ton of essays, which are a lot of really good reading for people, especially I think technology startups. Like if you're in that world, like listening to this show, you'd probably find some interesting stuff within his essays. And so if you just go to paulgraham.com, right on the left, the top link is essays. He has a really old it's articles.html. Yeah, it's like,
oh wow,
I haven't typed .html in a website in like 20 years. So I forgot that was even an option.
Yeah, it's not a fancy website, but the content's right. There's some good content on there.
Yeah, really, really interesting thoughts in there on startups. So definitely worth checking that out. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.